Welcome, everyone. Get ready, because we're diving deep into a truly amazing event, the November supermoon.
An absolute must-see.
We've got a fantastic article from NASA to guide us on this lunar journey.
It's packed with information.
We're going to uncover what makes this supermoon extra special, see how it connects with celebrations around the world, and even peek at other cosmic wonders happening this month.
Sounds like a plan.
First up, let's talk about the star of the show, the supermoon itself.
It's going to be a showstopper.
I know a supermoon means the moon appears bigger and brighter, but what's the science behind that? What's actually going on up there?
Well, the moon's orbit, it's not a perfect circle, you see. It's more of an elliptical shape. Which means its distance from Earth, it changes throughout the month.
Got it.
So a supermoon happens when a full moon occurs, when the moon's at its closest point to Earth in its orbit, a point we call perigee.
Perigee, that's the closest point.
Yeah, that's when we get this supersized, extra bright lunar display.
And this isn't just any supermoon, right? It's, if I'm correct, the fourth in a row.
You are correct.
Which sounds pretty rare. Is that unusual to have 4 supermoons in a row?
It's relatively uncommon, yeah. It all comes down to the moon's orbit and how it lines up with those lunar phases.
Okay, so it's all about timing.
Exactly. In fact, the last time we had this kind of sequence was back in 2023, and we won't see it again until 2037.
Wow, that's a pretty big gap, 2037. I better mark my calendar now so I don't miss it.
Definitely add that to your list.
So this November supermoon is closing out a pretty unique lunar chapter for us then.
It really is. And to make things even more interesting, this full moon has a bunch of different names, especially among Native American tribes.
Oh yeah, I've heard of these.
Some call it the beaver moon, others the frost moon, and some even the snow moon.
Those names are incredible. I mean, they really capture the essence of November, don't they?
Absolutely.
You know, you think about the beavers getting ready for winter, the frost sparkling on the ground, maybe even snow on the way.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how these names, they show a real deep connection to nature and the changing seasons. It's like a reminder that for centuries, people have looked up to the sky for guidance and for a sense of time and place.
Absolutely.
You know, like a celestial calendar.
I like that, a celestial calendar. Speaking of celestial wonders, our NASA article mentions something else that's going to make this event even more spectacular.
Uh-oh, what's that?
It says the Pleiades star cluster. It's going to be visible near the full moon.
Oh, wow. That's going to be a sight to see.
I've never seen the Pleiades myself, but I hear it's absolutely breathtaking.
It's often described as a jewel box of stars, a small cluster of bright stars that look so close together in the night sky.
That's a great way to put it.
To have that right next to the supermoon is going to be incredible.
I'm already getting excited about this. Now, for everyone out there who wants to catch this lunar showstopper, when exactly does it reach its peak?
Mark your calendars, because the full moon hits its peak on Friday, November 15th, 2024 at 4:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
So just before sunset for those of us on the East Coast.
Yeah, but keep in mind, the moon will look full for about 3 days, so there's plenty of time to enjoy its brilliance.
Okay, that's good to know. I definitely don't want to miss it.
Don't worry, you'll have a few chances.
Now, what I find truly remarkable is how this supermoon lines up with so many cultural events all over the world.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's almost as if the sky and the earth are in sync in this beautiful way.
You know, it shows how celestial events have shaped human traditions and belief systems throughout history.
It's like we've always looked to the heavens for meaning and connection.
And for a sense of wonder.
Absolutely. So let's explore some of these cultural events. First, we have Kartik Purnima, which is celebrated by Hindus, Jains, and Sikhs.
Yes, and while each religion has its own unique traditions and interpretations, Kartik Purnima is generally a time for spiritual renewal, cleansing, and gratitude.
It sounds very meaningful.
For Hindus, it's associated with the god Shiva. For Sikhs, it commemorates the founding of their holy scripture.
Wow, so much history there.
It's a time for reflection, connecting with faith, and celebrating with loved ones.
That's beautiful. It's truly amazing how one celestial event can resonate so deeply with different cultures in such meaningful ways.
It really is.
Our NASA article also mentions Loi Krathong, celebrated in Thailand and nearby countries. What can you tell us about that?
Oh, Loi Krathong, that's a beautiful one. Picture this. Thousands of intricately decorated baskets, each holding a candle and incense, set afloat on rivers and waterways under the soft glow of the full moon.
Wow, that sounds magical.
It's a way of expressing gratitude to the water spirits and symbolizes letting go of negativity and welcoming new beginnings.
Thousands of flickering lights drifting on the water under the November supermoon.
It's a sight to behold.
What other celebrations happen during this full moon?
Well, there's Bonam Tuk in Cambodia, which translates to the Water Festival.
Okay, I've heard of this one.
It's a 3-day extravaganza celebrating the reversal of the Tonle Sap River's flow, a natural phenomenon that's vital to the region's ecosystem.
Really important for them.
It's a time for boat races, illuminated floats, and joyous gatherings along the riverbanks.
Boat races, that sounds exciting. I can only imagine the energy there.
Oh, it's electric.
Any other festivals we should know about?
How about we travel to Myanmar? They celebrate the Tazandang festival there.
What's special about that one?
This one's particularly fascinating because it actually predates the introduction of Buddhism to the region.
Really? So it goes way back.
It involves launching hot air balloons, sometimes even carrying fireworks.
Wow, hot air balloons with fireworks, that's something I'd love to see someday.
It's a spectacle of light and sound that fills the night sky.
Now, before we move on, I do want to remind everyone listening that safety should always be a priority.
Of course, always.
Let's leave the hot air ballooning to the experts and enjoy these dazzling displays responsibly.
Absolutely, safety first.
Now, what about the last festival?
Ah, yes. We also have Ilpoya in Sri Lanka. It commemorates a pivotal moment in Buddhist history, the arrival of the first Buddhist missionaries sent by Emperor Ashoka of India.
Okay, so a very historical event.
It's a day of reflection and remembrance for Buddhists, and the supermoon adds a special layer of reverence to the occasion.
So we have this one celestial event, a supermoon no less, coinciding with such diverse cultural celebrations around the world.
It's incredible.
It's a beautiful reminder of how connected we all are, even across continents and belief systems.
It really highlights how the cosmos has always held a special place in the human experience, inspiring awe, wonder, and a sense of belonging to something larger than ourselves.
That's such a great point. Now, what else does this November sky have in store for us? Beyond the supermoon and these incredible celebrations, what other celestial wonders should we be on the lookout for?
Oh, there are plenty. As we move through the lunar cycle, we'll have the chance to see a dance of planets, comets, and maybe even a few shooting stars.
Okay, sounds exciting.
It's truly a fantastic time to be looking up at the night sky.
Let's talk about those planets then. Our NASA article mentions some prime planet viewing opportunities this month.
Get your telescopes ready.
I know I'm ready to grab mine and explore the solar system from my backyard. What should we be on the lookout for?
Well, first up is Saturn, the ringed wonder. It's shining brightly in the evening sky right now, high in the south-southeast as soon as twilight ends.
I always love seeing Saturn.
Even with the naked eye, it's beautiful. But if you have a telescope, you can get a glimpse of those incredible rings.
I've always been fascinated by Saturn's rings. They're like their own miniature solar system with all those tiny particles orbiting the planet.
It's mind-boggling.
Now, is there anything else we should be looking for while we're observing Saturn this month?
Actually, yeah. If you keep track of Saturn's position each night, you'll notice it seems to shift slightly westward.
Oh, really? So it looks like it's moving.
It's not that Saturn is moving that much, it's more that we're observing it from a moving platform, Earth, as it goes around the sun.
It's amazing that we can actually see the effects of Earth's movement through space just by watching the stars and planets.
It really is.
Now, what about Jupiter? I know it's the largest planet in our solar system. Will we be seeing it this month?
Jupiter is just beginning to make its appearance in the evening sky. Right now, it's pretty low on the eastern horizon, but as November goes on, it'll climb higher and become much easier to spot.
Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that.
And here's a date to mark in your calendar, December 7th. Jupiter will be at its closest and brightest for the whole year.
Oh, December 7th. Got to remember that one. That's a prime viewing opportunity I don't want to miss.
Absolutely not. Our NASA article also mentions that with a good telescope, we can even see some of Jupiter's moons.
Is that right?
That's right. Jupiter has over 80 moons, but the 4 largest ones, Ganymede, Callisto, Europa, and Io, are bright enough to be seen even with a basic telescope.
That's incredible.
And here's the fascinating part. They're not just static points of light. If you watch them over a few hours or even over consecutive nights, you'll see them actually change positions as they orbit Jupiter.
Wow, so you can actually see them moving.
It's like watching a miniature planetary ballet right in front of your eyes.
I'm going to need a telescope for that for sure.
It's worth the investment.
Now, our NASA article also mentions comets. I've always been intrigued by those icy wanderers. Are any of them gracing our skies this November?
There are a couple worth mentioning. One is Comet C2023A3, also known as Suchunshan ATLs. It was discovered earlier this year and made quite a buzz because it was predicted to become incredibly bright, maybe even visible with the naked eye.
Oh, wow. So what happened?
As it got closer to the sun, it started to break apart and has faded a bit.
Oh, that's too bad. So it won't be the celestial spectacle we were hoping for.
You might still be able to see it with binoculars or a telescope, but it won't be as bright as we initially thought.
I see.
It's a good reminder that comets can be unpredictable, which is part of their charm, I guess.
Yeah, you never know what you're going to get.
Exactly. Another comet you might want to try to spot is 33 Plinier. It's a periodic comet that returns to the inner solar system every 6 years or so.
What's special about this comet? Is it particularly bright?
It's not exceptionally bright, but it's reaching its peak brightness in late November and early December, so you might be able to see it with binoculars or a telescope. Right now, it's in the constellation Gemini, not too far from the star Castor.
Okay, so 2 comets to try and track down. Now, what about meteor showers? Any shooting stars streaking across the November sky?
Well, there's some good news and some bad news.
Uh-oh, I don't like the sound of that.
The bad news is the Geminids meteor shower, which usually peaks in mid-December and is one of the most prolific meteor showers of the year, is going to be a bit of a bust this time around.
Oh no, why is that?
The Geminids peak on the night of December 14th, just a few days after the full moon.
Ah, I see where this is going.
The bright moonlight will wash out many of the fainter meteors, making them hard to see.
That's disappointing. I love watching meteor showers. There's something magical about seeing those streaks of light across the sky.
I agree. But while the Geminids might be a washout this year, there are a couple of smaller meteor showers happening in November that might give us a glimpse of shooting stars.
Oh, okay, like what?
The Northern Taurids and the Leonids are both active this month, though their activity is pretty low.
So we might still catch a few shooting stars if we're lucky.
Fingers crossed.
Now, speaking of catching celestial events, our NASA article has a really detailed viewing guide for the whole lunar cycle.
Oh yeah, that's a great resource.
It's like having a personalized stargazing plan, which is awesome. It even gives specific dates, times using Eastern Standard Time, and tells us where to find things in the sky.
It's perfect for planning your stargazing sessions.
Exactly. It tells you what to look for in both the evening and morning sky throughout the entire lunar cycle.
It covers it all.
Perfect. Let's dive into this guide and see what we can expect to see over the next few weeks. I'm ready to start this lunar journey.
Me too. Let's go. All right. So on Friday, November 15th, as twilight fades, around 5:55 p.m. Eastern Time.
Okay, just as the sky is getting dark.
Yeah, the supermoon, it'll rise in the east-northeast, about 14 degrees above the horizon.
And let's not forget we'll have the Pleiades star cluster nearby, right?
That's right, about 5 degrees to the lower left of the moon. It'll be an amazing sight, those two together.
Can't wait. What else can we see on this supermoon night?
Look towards the southwest, and you'll see Venus shining brightly, about 12 degrees above the horizon.
Venus is always so bright, it's often mistaken for an airplane or even a UFO.
It's a real attention grabber.
Anything else to look for in that area of the sky?
Keep an eye out for Mercury, just above the southwestern horizon.
Mercury. That's a tough one to spot, isn't it?
It'll be much fainter than Venus, less than a degree above the horizon. So it's a challenge, but worth it if you can catch it.
So we have the supermoon rising in the east, Venus and Mercury in the west. Where's Saturn during all this?
Saturn is hanging out in the south-southeast, about 38 degrees above the horizon.
Nice. Still high enough to get a good view.
And for those with telescopes, Comet C2023A3, or Suchunshan ATLs, will be at roughly the same altitude as Saturn, but over in the west-southwest.
That's the comet we were talking about earlier, right?
The one that's a bit fainter than expected.
Yeah, magnitude 8, wasn't it? Can you quickly explain what magnitude means for those who might not know?
Sure. Magnitude is how we measure the brightness of objects in the sky. The lower the number, the brighter the object.
So a magnitude 1 star is super bright.
Very bright, yeah. And each step on the scale is a difference in brightness of about 2.5 times.
Okay, so magnitude 8 for the comet means it's pretty faint, but still a good target for dedicated comet hunters.
Definitely worth a try if you have the right equipment and a dark sky.
Anything else we should look for on this supermoon night?
If you look almost directly overhead, you'll find Deneb, the tail star of Cygnus the Swan. It's about 79 degrees above the northwestern horizon.
Deneb, that's a bright one.
It's a blue-white supergent star, much larger and hotter than our sun.
Wow, that puts things in perspective.
Imagine, if Deneb was in our solar system, it would extend almost out to Earth's orbit.
That's mind-blowing. But hey, we're just getting started with our viewing guide. There's so much more to see over the next few weeks.
It's a packed lunar cycle, that's for sure.
So let's keep exploring. What happens as the moon moves on from its full phase?
Well, on Saturday, November 16th, Mercury reaches its greatest elongation east. That means it's as far from the sun in our sky as it gets, making it easier to see after sunset.
I always have trouble spotting Mercury, so I'll definitely be looking for it then.
And on the same night, the planet Uranus reaches opposition.
Opposition, what does that mean?
It means Uranus is directly opposite the sun from our perspective on Earth, so it's visible all night long.
So basically, as the sun sets, Uranus rises and vice versa.
Exactly. Now, Uranus is pretty faint, even in opposition, so you'll need a telescope to see it.
I've never actually seen Uranus. What does it look like through a telescope?
It looks like a small bluish-green disk. Not as flashy as Saturn or Jupiter, but still pretty cool knowing it's a giant ice planet tilted on its side.
Tilted on its side? What do you mean?
It's rotating almost perpendicular to its orbit like it's rolling along.
That's so weird, but fascinating. Definitely adding Uranus to my list of things to see.
Yeah.
What about Jupiter? When does it become easier to see in the evening sky?
Jupiter will be visible above the eastern horizon as twilight ends, starting on Friday, November 22nd.
Okay, so about a week after the supermoon.
And remember, December 7th is when it's closest and brightest for the year. Don't miss that.
December 7th, got it. We'll have the waning gibbous moon, a bright Jupiter, and maybe even some shooting stars from the Leonids meteor shower.
Yeah, it'll be quite a show.
And we can't forget about those moons around Jupiter.
Oh, that's right. Ganymede, Callisto, Europa, and Io. You can watch them orbit the planet over the course of a night with a telescope.
Sounds amazing. All right, let's switch gears and talk about the morning sky. Our NASA guide says there are some pretty spectacular sights for early birds.
Oh, definitely. If you're up before dawn on Friday, November 15th, the morning after the supermoon, you'll see a beautiful trio in the sky.
A celestial trio. I like the sound of that.
The setting supermoon will be low in the west-northwest. Jupiter will be high in the west. And Mars, shining brightly, will be even higher in the southwest.
Wow, a supermoon, Jupiter, and Mars all together.
What a way to start today.
Absolutely. As the moon keeps waning, are there any other morning sky highlights we should know about?
Yeah, the moon will have some close encounters with bright stars. On November 20th, it'll be near Pollux in Gemini.
Ah, Gemini the twins. Always a fun constellation to spot.
And then on November 22nd and 23rd, the waning crescent moon will pass close to Regulus, the heart star of Leo the Lion.
So each morning will bring a different view.
It's like a celestial dance, constantly changing.
This personalized guide is fantastic. It really helps me picture how the moon and stars move throughout the month.
That's the great thing about astronomy. There's always something new to see, whether it's a supermoon, planets lining up, or a shooting star.
And it always makes you feel so small and insignificant.
In a good way, though.
In awe of the universe, definitely.
Exactly. So much more to see as we go through the rest of this lunar cycle.
It's like we have front row seats to a cosmic ballet.
With new performers each night.
What should we mark on our calendars for the next few weeks?
Well, Saturday, November 16th, Mercury reaches its greatest elongation east.
Greatest elongation east? That's a mouthful.
It basically means Mercury is as far from the sun in our sky as it can be.
So it'll be easier to see?
Much easier, yeah, after sunset.
I always have trouble finding Mercury, so I'll be looking for it on the 16th.
Good plan. And on the same night, Uranus reaches opposition.
Opposition. Remind me what that means again.
It means Uranus is directly opposite the sun from where we are on Earth.
Okay.
So it's visible all night long.
So when the sun sets, Uranus rises.
Yeah, exactly.
I've never actually seen Uranus. What does it look like through a telescope?
It's pretty faint, even at opposition, so you'll need a telescope.
Okay.
It looks like a small bluish-green disk.
Interesting.
Not as visually stunning as Saturn or Jupiter, but still cool knowing it's a giant ice planet tilted on its side.
Wait, tilted on its side?
Yeah, it's rotating almost perpendicular to its orbit, like it's rolling along.
That's so strange, but fascinating at the same time.
It really is unique.
I'm adding Uranus to my list for sure. What about Jupiter? When does it become more prominent in the evening sky?
Jupiter will be visible above the eastern horizon right as twilight ends, starting Friday, November 22nd.
Okay, got it.
And don't forget, December 7th is when it's at its closest and brightest for the year.
Oh yeah, December 7th, circled on my calendar. We'll have the waning gibbous moon, a super bright Jupiter, maybe even some shooting stars from the Leonids.
Yeah, it's going to be a great night for sky watching.
And with a telescope, we can check out those Jovian moons.
Absolutely. Ganymede, Callisto, Europa, and Io. You can watch them change positions as they orbit Jupiter throughout the night.
I'm definitely getting a telescope after this.
It's a whole new world up there.
Okay, let's talk about the morning sky. Our NASA guide has some really cool stuff for the early risers out there.
It does. It does. If you're up before dawn on Friday, November 15th, the morning after the supermoon, there's a beautiful sight waiting for you.
The morning after the supermoon, I might have to set an alarm.
It's worth it, trust me.
Okay, what am I looking for?
You'll see it's setting supermoon low in the west-northwest, Jupiter high in the west, and Mars nice and bright, even higher in the southwest.
Wow, a supermoon, Jupiter, and Mars all in one view.
What a way to start the day.
No kidding. Now as the moon keeps waning, are there any other morning sky events we should watch out for?
As the moon wanes, it'll have some close encounters with bright stars. On November 20th, it'll be near Pollux, one of the twin stars in Gemini.
I love finding Gemini in the sky.
It's a classic.
And then a couple days later?
Yeah, on November 22nd and 23rd, the waning crescent moon will pass close to Regulus.
Regulus, that's the heart of Leo,
It's
right?
the heart of Leo the lion, yeah. So each morning will bring a slightly different view.
This guide is really helpful for visualizing how everything moves.
It's like having a personal map of the sky.
Exactly. Now I think we've covered everything in this amazing NASA article.
We've hit all the highlights.
But before we go, let's go back to that question you asked earlier.
Oh, about why humans are so drawn to the cosmos.
Yeah. Why do you think we've always felt this connection to the night sky?
I think it's a few things.
Like what?
Part of it might be our natural curiosity.
Wanting to understand our place in the universe.
Yeah, and then there's that sense of awe and wonder that just hits you when you look up at the stars.
It's a reminder that we're part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. In a world that can feel so chaotic, the night sky brings a sense of order and beauty.
It's a constant no matter what's happening down here.
So the next time you're under the stars, really take a moment to appreciate it.
It's a connection to something ancient and mysterious, and it's always there.
Always there, waiting to be explored.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the November supermoon and all the amazing things happening in the sky this month.
We had a blast talking about it.
Remember to look up, explore, and keep that sense of wonder alive. Thanks for listening.